Hello, what's good, everybody? Joey J. Ping here, checking in live, man. RespectMyRegion.com. We're back here on another episode of the RMR podcast. Actually, Drew, I take it back. That's the incorrect. We are here on the first official episode on the Michigan Cannabis Podcast. I've done so many of these RMR ones.
Nice.
I started off on the wrong series. This is our first official Michigan Cannabis Podcast, folks. Our journey today brought to you guys by Infinite Chemical Analysis Lab. InfiniteCAL, if you know, you know. They're our go-to lab partners for all things accurate cannabis testing when it comes to products. But today's episode, folks, is not about them. It's about my guest here today. We've got Drew Nowak. He is the founder of Freedom Green Farms up in Kalkaska, Michigan. And Drew, it's an honor to have you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for your time today. How you living? Happy Monday.
Yeah, it's been honestly, I know it's a tough time in cannabis for a lot of people, but it's another Monday, another opportunity for us to get better and sell some weed.
I love that, man. I really appreciate you being a guest on our show today. You know, we were just chatting offline. It's been a hell of a weekend, man. It was Super Bowl weekend in New Orleans. You're a former, National Football League player yourself, a former athlete, maybe still currently, doing athletic activities. I'm getting too old for myself, so I'm not really athletic anymore. The podcast is about as athletic as I get. What an incredible weekend it was, man. What was it like for you being a cannabis business owner, being an athlete? What was Super Bowl weekend like for you, man? What was that like for you?
Honestly, most of my weekends are pretty family filled.
Nice.
I have 6 kids, so a lot of it's spent with them when I'm not at the facility. But honestly, Super Bowl weekend always reminds me of when I was playing Seattle, especially my first year there. We ended up going to the Super Bowl. That was the year, we didn't run the ball and Marshawn there on the goal line and
Oh,
threw that pick, and the Patriots took it home. So stings every year about the same time,
brings back a little bit of
but
those tough
it's just
memories, man. I can feel that.
yeah, for sure. But it's always exciting watching football. I love it. I watch it every chance I get. So sad that it's over, but also it's good to have a break and move us forward to finishing hockey season. Let's get to hockey.
Oh, we got a
Let's
hot.
watch our Red
You're a
Wings.
big hockey fan, huh?
Oh yeah, big time.
What does that? When it comes to like the sports versus professional business, I'm a fan by my whole life, right? And I've always been a fan of athletes that created their different businesses, and that's what gravitated me to you. Is I told you, I grew up in Seattle. I'm a Raiders fan, so I got a little dislike for the Chiefs, and I got a lot of hatred for the Seahawks. But when I saw that you were doing cannabis, I put all that aside, and I was like, you know what? This guy is still living his dream, right? This guy. Oh, we still got you here, Drew. Where'd you
I'm
go?
still here. My camera's all messed up.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
you're chilling. You're chilling. Um, I
Just my camera's all messed up.
oh, oh. Oh, there you go. You're back. You're back. Perfect.
All right, now I'm here.
You're chilling. Don't worry about the desk behind you, brother. So I was just saying, I got a super dislike for the Seahawks. I got a super dislike for the Chiefs. That's just because of my fandom, right? Because I'm a big Raiders fan. That's all that is at the end of the day, right? But when I saw that you were doing
Yeah,
cannabis work, I thought to myself, this is an opportunity for us to learn and understand, you know, what goes on into these professional athletes' minds, what goes on into the inspiration, and what goes on into helping other people, right? And my understanding is that it was not easy for your body to get to the level of competition that you were able to achieve. The Super Bowl, right? We're talking about, right? Not easy by any means. The workouts,
for
the
sure.
hours, the weeks, the years, the sacrifice made by your family and you just to be able to get to that level, right? And when I watch these interviews with other athletes, whether it's basketball, football, whatever it is, they always talk about the sacrifice that their body took, the toll that it was on their body. Can you talk a little bit about why you started Freedom Greens and kind of what were all those different variables that went into you actually taking on this different endeavor?
Yeah, for sure. A few things. So when I kind of was introduced to cannabis in Seattle when I was playing out there. I kind of grew up in a traditional, conservative family. So, cannabis really wasn't a part of my upbringing. But prescription medication is pretty readily available for all athletes, right?
Wow.
You talk about the type of strain and stress on your body, and I was just looking for a way for treatment, pain relief, recovery in a non-prescription medication type way. And so edibles was really my first experience when I was out in Seattle, and that kind of allowed me to become more of a believer in the plant itself. I really wasn't overly educated in that sense back then. Um, but when I was done playing ball, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, moved back to Michigan, played college ball at Western Michigan, went and finished my degree. I got an engineering degree at Western Michigan University. And
Hell
then
yeah.
that was right around the time that like licensed cannabis, whatever you want to call it, non-caregiver cannabis was coming to market. And I kind of was like, let's start a business. Let's start a cannabis facility, you know? And I had never grown a plant before in my life, saw the benefits medicinally, personally, but just kind of wanted to jump all in. And I wanted to find something that made me feel like I did when I played football. Wake up every day, have that same competitiveness, the same intensity, the same trying to be the best at something. And cannabis was my path. And so that was like 2018-ish. I started to kind of learn, consult with people, and from basically we started our our kind of design plan beginning of 2019, broke around summer of 2019, and first licensed plant in the ground August of 2020. So we've been operating for like 4.5 years now.
Wow.
And it's definitely not been easy. Lots of ups and downs. I say failures in a positive sense. A lot of things that we've learned from and gotten better because of.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of in a. I know the market in general has been tough on a lot of folks, but we've really kind of positioned ourselves well with strong relationships, and we've been a profitable business for our entire existence.
That's incredible. I think when I'm gonna always. I finally have found somebody that I can speak sports times weed with, which is great. And so I live by the Raiders, the commitment to excellence. And I think it's been hard for people in cannabis to come in and be committed to delivering an excellent product, be committed to being an excellent brand, whether it's all the time or even just consistently. And I wanted to ask you about how have you been able to tie in the discipline from sports, professional sports at the highest level? How does your ability to truly be disciplined, to commit to delivering a great product, to commit to delivering an excellent experience, how is that really translated into you filling that niche that you're talking about right now? Is there a crossover between the two because you're used to operating at such a high level already?
Yeah, I think when I've been as fortunate as I was to play in the NFL, you understand what it takes to be excellent, to be great, to work towards being the best that you can be. And so, it's just a different facet, a different job, a different thing. You're just kind of transitioning your same mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had that crash course, instead of my whole life learning in football. I had to figure it out really fast. I like to say, it's like you're building the plane while you're flying it while it's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of really what cannabis has been for us.
That's
And
one of
so
my
it
favorite
really
quotes
was
in
just
cannabis. We're
going
building the
full.
plane flying. It's one of my favorite quotes in this whole
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah, for sure. So
So
we've, and
go ahead. I'll let you finish.
go
Oh, I
ahead.
lost you.
I'm still here. It's just my
You're good.
camera
You're
keeps
good. Don't worry
cutting
about it.
out.
We'll get this. It's just the camera stuff. We'll get this figured out. So
Yeah. So really, it was fully committing to this role. A lot of people are investors only, but I'm an investor. I'm an operator. I've been here at 2 o'clock in the morning working on HVAC equipment. I've been to the facility late, early, weekends, 7 days a week, done whatever it took for us to be in the position we are today. But also our team has been able to do that as well. Our team has
mm-hmm.
committed to the excellence, to the greatness that I pushed onto them.
The culture.
I like to say
you got to get it.
that,
It's building.
the culture for
right?
sure.
Truly,
For sure.
truly, it's
And it's,
got to be important.
I like to, definitely. And I like to say, people don't understand what they can do unless you put the bar far enough out that they can't reach it, or they feel like they can't reach it. So
Yeah.
the way our team has always operated is I always, push the limits. And our team, our trimmers, we hand trim all of our flower. Our team is mostly 5 to 8 pounds a day per person.
Wow.
We have 6 flower rooms. We harvest on schedule every 3 times a month, 35 turns a year. Everything is production and processes, and staying consistent like that has allowed us to, maximize every single day that we have here.
There's a very little wiggle room for massive failures or malfunctions in cultivating cannabis, right? You have rooms, they're hyper expensive. You've got times, turnaround cycles. You said systems and processes. Everything's on this perpetual harvest mentality, or almost like a tempo, right? I kind of look at it like you're constantly in a 2-minute drill. What's the play you got to run next. We got to turn the room. We got to clean the room. And then each of these different steps triggers the next thing, right? And so when you think about building Freedom Green, what were those conversations like for you going back, to 2017, 2018, 2019 for you, 2020? How did you come up with this brand? Why Freedom Green? What kind of went into the inspiration behind that?
Yeah, so Freedom Green was a play on a few different things. It was, a Midwest Americana type vibe. I like to say we're like blue collar cannabis. We're just regular people growing weed, and so we really wanted to bring that kind of like tough vibe to growing cannabis, but also, we wanted to grow with veterans in mind. And so whether it's giving back locally to veteran programs, providing meals during the holidays, employing vets as well, we've tried to really focus on, local veteran help. Um, and so it's just kind of a culmination of a lot of different things. It's like blue collar, tough mentality, and trying to do things right.
What obviously, cannabis in a lot of instances has been legalized or decriminalized due to things tied to medical conditions, and in certain areas definitely conditions that overlap with veterans, and their various realities, right? Why the decision to really represent veterans? A lot of athletes would stereotypically go sports, or maybe they go into some other culture where they came from. For you, what's the connections? What's the connection and the inspiration behind of supporting veterans there?
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if this is still the case, but Michigan has the second largest per capita population of veterans in the country.
Wow.
And when we were searching for our location, our home base here, every municipality in northern Michigan, you go into their village offices, and it's fallen vets, active duty vets. It's the history, it's saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just so strong, America, country. And like, for what those men and women have done for us, past, present, future, for us not to want to give back, it's a shame. And for how much this plant helps their ability to live their everyday life, whether it's being able to sleep, PTSD, pain management, all the things that it helps, the regular consumer. It's just on maybe probably a more extreme base for our veterans. What a great group to support during our journey.
I entirely I agree from a human standpoint, and it's incredible to hear the data support the desire to do that as well, right? We think about, I know there's the brand from Chavo from System of a Down. It's called 22 Red. I know that brand is
Yep.
inspired by the 22 veterans that commit suicide roughly. I don't know if it's every hour or every day, or if what time frame that is. I don't remember sitting here right now, and that's my lack of being committed to that for not remembering that right now. But even then, I love what that represents in terms of the ability to turn that into a positive and ultimately helping people. And it's just very clear, right, that cannabis is so helpful for people going through some form of PTSD or these other mental health realities for them as well. And
For
I
sure.
appreciate that you do that. I wasn't aware that that was the reason behind that. So okay, so 600 pounds of flour. You talked a little bit about the hand trimming. We talked a little bit about, just the overall poundage here. You talked about some of the rooms. I haven't been in the grow. I have been to Kalkaska. Shout out to my homie Nate at the road trip in the lab out there in Kalkaska. I've been through that little strip there. It's beautiful with the trees on both sides. That old train track on the right side of the town there.
Yep.
Sick, amazing, cool vibe for what Michigan is. It's out there, man. You all are up there in the cuts, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what's good? Honestly, brother, it reminded me of the Northwest, right? It looks like Washington out there, which was crazy to me. I saw the tin roofs with moss on the roofs, and I saw salmon structures all over the place, bunch of bear statues carved by wood. I was like, damn, I feel like I'm back in Kent, back in
Yeah, for
Renton
real.
area, man. This is crazy. Like Issaquah must be 30 minutes from here, right? Like, but it was a really wonderful experience out there. What's going on? 600 pounds. How many rooms is that? Walk me through the facility again. This is going to be for all the cultivation nerds out there, man. They
Yeah,
want to
for
know
sure.
what y'all rocking with.
Yeah, so we have six flower rooms. We do the two-tier growing. So the stack growing LEDs. We're in
Sick.
1.5 gallon pots, cocoa, 100% cocoa. We use
Nice.
Athena. So
Mm-hmm.
everything is just really, really structured apart. But we've tried everything. Like, I mean, we've tried so many different cultivation practices. We started organic living soil, 7 gallon pots. Then we went to three gallon pots. Then we went to um, cocoa in the compressed bags. We went from threes to ones, pro mix from threes to twos to ones. Now back
You've
to the
been trying out
cocoa.
all
So
the stuff, man.
we've
You've been
tried it
really
all because
optimizing the whole time.
yeah, I mean R&D. It's a habitual R&D process here. So really, we've kind of been with our 1.5 gallon pots, our Athena, and our processes that we're in today, probably for the last 12 months, and we just feel really comfortable with where we're at.
What One of my favorite things about cultivating cannabis, and I'm not a cultivator myself. I've grown a little bit here in LA, here in the valley where I live. It turned out fine for what it was. Shout out me being able to count on that consistent lady, man. Blue Dream. She was the easy one. Pumped out some blueberry weed. It was great, but everything hermed on me after that. So I'm not a cultivator, right?
Yeah.
But I love genetics. I love genetics, Drew. So I'm interested, man. You spent time in Washington. Yeah, I know you was introduced to it via edibles, but on that team, right? You said you was on the team where they should have ran the ball, not, but they threw it, right? Russell
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wilson, Pete Carroll, they
Sick.
should have given the ball to Marshawn, but Marshawn's a blunt smoker, right? So I want to talk about the strain genetics, and did you ever get to smoke any of that weed back when you were back in Seattle? Is there any of those genetics from that era of your weed experiences that maybe are they still a part of the ecosystem by chance?
Nothing from back in Washington really. Again, it was like so early stage, and
Mm-hmm.
genetics really has been a huge part of our growth. I mean, we probably, no joke, have around 150 strains here, whether it's sourcing
Wow.
from caregivers, from different breeders, popping our own seeds. I mean, we've
Mm-hmm.
done so much work on just trying to find. I mean, people want the variety, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people recognize the name. So we have, we run some runts. We still run Mac, but we
Running the
run a lot of
Mac.
the. Yeah, I mean, it's just nice. It's just great weed. It's hard. Everybody
It's
has it, but
so
it's just
terpy,
great weed.
man. It's so terpy.
Yeah.
I actually can't stand Mac only from like the it doesn't get me high perspective. It's like, yeah, why would I spend $60 on like some really high end Mac? Like that's just that the old purple punches back in the day. It just doesn't get me high. It tastes great, but even Granddaddy Purple, people be like, nah, like it just, they're the fruity berry ones. Just if that's the only thing in it, it doesn't really get me high. But I love the flavor of it, and for me, Mac, it's that baseball sized nug. It's like white, creamy purple and green, right? Mac
Yeah,
is
she's
crazy,
beautiful.
right?
Yeah.
Such a beautiful, such a washer too as well. What else do you guys running? Like, what are some of your favorite strains you guys currently have going down?
Yeah. So it's kind of cool the way we're able to source different genetics. So I have a boy of mine that's a trapper that kind of does some breeding on the side, and so we run a few of his genetics, which we have a watermelon Skittles cross with mimosa, watermelon mimosa. It's
Ooh,
fire. Um,
that sounds tasty.
yeah, it's fire. We're running a genetic of his right now called sour melon soda, and it's like 2 feet of just straight colas. So we support we support the trappers, the black market guys, and then we popped a few seeds, genetics from the Beans Fiends guys, Mitten, and then Mobile J. They have some solid genetics. Copycat genetics. We popped some seeds from those guys. I mean, we don't discriminate. We do
Yeah,
small
you're
pheno hunts
playing with
in
it, man.
all
That's
rooms.
awesome.
So
It
it's
sounds
super
fun to
fun.
hang out with you guys.
Yeah, and we just want to provide the flavor. Obviously, in Michigan, the market is test. So the stuff's got to test. It's got to hit the numbers, on the COA, unfortunately. But we really want to provide that variety where it's test taste, the visual appearance, the smoke, like where it hits all the boxes. And so we always have about 40 genetics in rotation at all times that are, full, once every 8 runs they're going,
Hmm.
and we're
Okay,
cycling
so
stuff in and out.
I want to take a moment here to shout out our sponsor because you mentioned something important. These check boxes, testing is part of it. There's usually look, smell, some version of all these other stuff. Yield probably is some of the other check boxes, right? For this, it's always a balance of all those four things, right? But I want to take a point to shout out our sponsor, Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, InfiniteCAL, folks. They're a testing lab. We rock with this testing lab, folks, because everywhere I've gone, everyone's labs have been kind of in question just simply because of the culture of lab and testing and what's real and what's not, and this variance number. And for years, people weren't even doing the same math to do all the stuff. And then this concept of lab shopping, which obviously you're going to go and try different people to do different things, right? So it's just, this is balance. And so I just wanted to shout out our sponsor for working with us to provide this platform to empower Respect My Region, to be able to talk to these different companies in Michigan. We got the California one. We got the Cannabis Testing Podcast coming soon as well. So just shout out our sponsor for all that stuff, man. Drew, I want to circle back though to those check boxes for you. What are those boxes you're looking for? Genetic strains, products to check off that you feel are good enough to succeed and continue growing your profitable business there in Michigan. What qualifies each of those? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's the production side checkbox where it's like, ease of growing. Can you feed
Mm-hmm.
it anything? Can it get hit by light? Can it do the things on our cultivation side that are going to help us be successful? So obviously yields, the look. I think a lot about the trim. How is it going to trim? Is it a leafier flower? We have basically a statistics for, if I give you 100 grams of flour, I would like it to be as close to 70% return of flour, and then 30% is your trim, popcorn, and your waste. So we do a lot of our selections based on the ease of trimming. But for the consumer, on the consumer side, the nose, the bag appeal, the smoke. I unfortunately, like I said, the test is, it's got to test at a good number. But if the bag doesn't open and you can't recognize a smell, then it's not good enough.
It goes
So
back to those recognizable strains, right? That people say
right,
like people associate a strain name with the smell and then with the smoke experience. It's really those three touch points. You guys are
for
trying to
sure.
nail all three.
Yeah, and it's like, there's different statistics on flour and what people want in a pre-roll. We've recently released a pre-roll brand with Freedom Green, so it's just, there's just all those different things. And honestly, I just want to grow what the consumer wants. I don't care personally. And it's not about
Yeah.
what I want. It's what everybody else wants, and we get emails, we get hit up on Instagram all the time, and people are like, oh, we have a strain we call EDub. And it's just like, we've had a super positive response from a few consumers that say, this is the only strain I can smoke that where I have a physical relief from pain. And it's like, getting those types of responses, that's where it's like, well, obviously we're going to keep this
Yeah.
around. It's making a difference in people's lives. So though we take a lot of criticism or constructive response from our consumers and say, hey, this is fire. Hey, probably wouldn't go with this again. So, we just want to do what the consumer wants.
Doing what the consumer wants, it's this fine balance though, right? Because then you've got this retailer culture, if you would, right? Then you have the ecosystem of buying and selling B2B, right? Which is then they got to sell B2C, but their dispensary to the customer. And the customer culture is often, unfortunately, it's THC driven or what we call testing driven, right?
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about some of those issues in Michigan, and can we help to break apart some of those myths? Can we do that together?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people talk about it, and I do think it's great that, if we were to find a way to push away from the THC driven culture. But what does that take? How do we do that? That's the tough part. Is the consumer says this is what I want, and if you don't have it, they're not buying, and if they're not buying, then you're not selling. If you're not selling, you don't have a business. So
It's it
that's
is that
that's
that is
that's the
it's the
toughest the
crucial
toughest part
reality
about the
here.
space. I think competition as well. In Michigan, you have the number of licenses and the producers. And so what's your competitive advantage, right? You can't just say, well, I grow fireweed. Well, everybody says they grow fireweed. What's your differentiator, right? So it's you're dealing with what you want versus what you think should work versus what the consumer
Mm-hmm.
says they want versus what you think the consumer should want. There's just so many different factors. And really, when the product moves, that's the decision that you got to make and say, okay, I know this is selling.
Yep.
I'm going to keep growing it. I know this is not selling. I'm not going to keep growing it.
Yeah. The you know I've heard about how many different brands there are there in Michigan. People talk about the saturation in states like Michigan and California, Oregon, Oklahoma. Washington's market also pretty saturated with product and brands. With your brand being Freedom Green, delivering a very very high quality products, you know, having a dedicated mission, right, with the commitment to veterans, you know, how what would you say specifically helps you guys stand out? Because you aren't the only brand to grow great weed, and you're not the only brand to support veterans. So, what would you say truly makes you guys stand out and be elite in either of those two areas or both?
Yeah. So I think consistency is a big thing. You know what you're going to get with us. We're going to provide the
Love that.
same quality of product every single time. And I think, and availability of material. So every week we have 3 new strains that are hitting the shelves.
Oh, sick.
we
Okay,
we
that's
we
cool.
never we never not have flower available, and I think that keeps us relevant. I think our relationships are really strong as well. When people,
Mm-hmm.
if there's a problem or they need to get a hold of us, they're talking to me. And I just don't think that there's a lot of businesses where they're talking to the owner of the company that knows every aspect of what's going on. And I think that they
Yeah.
appreciate that and respect it. So I think that the strength of our relationships has helped us to generate our market share and the market share in the top tier in the state.
And is that 75 plus number, is that still accurate? Are we at 150? Are we at 100? Are we around 75? So because for I imagine that for you to maintain that true touch, right, that Drew touch, you can't be 1,000 deep, right? That'd be a borderline impossible, right? So it's this balance of being the right size company and operating at that scale, right, and being efficient within that scale, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're real close to that 75 number. Um, and
Nice.
I'm not saying we wouldn't add more, but we are in a kind of a nice sweet spot. We work with people that pay well. That's obviously important. They pay on
Yeah.
time. They have strong brands as well. The locations of their stores are in higher moving areas. So we've just really been really fortunate to build those relationships. But you know what? You can't build those if you're not providing the product that the stores want. They trust that we're selling them fireweed and they're getting fireweed. And so that's where I think that it's here's our inventory. They buy almost on a weekly basis, and they know what they're going to get when they get Freedom Green.
Let's talk about what they're going to get. If you could describe your flagship strain in 3 words, what would that be? And then hit me with the actual name of the strain.
Ooh.
Oh, here we go. I got some good
that's
questions.
That's tough. That's tough.
I've just been getting to learn. I've just been learning so far. Now we got some good stuff coming.
So
3 words.
Okay.
Your flagship strain. Yep.
Flagship. So I would say we have a new flagship right now. It's called Orange Julius, and it smells just like you opened up a bottle of Sunny D. Like literally, it smells like Sunny D. And
Sunny D, I love that. So I love orange weed.
Yeah.
Is that I would your say best smelling strain in the lineup right now?
Yeah, I would say like you open that bag and you're like, wow, it's unbelievable. But it's a flavor thing. Like my second favorite, which we've had the longest here, is our blueberry muffin. And
I love blueberry.
It's literally like you opened up, your stove after you just finished cooking some blueberry muffins, and you light it up and it stays, and the flavor is there through the smoke. It's not the heaviest yielding, it's not the highest testing. It's like mid-20s, but we had a store buy from us. I think they bought like 2 pounds, and they were out in 24 hours. That's how that's how fast that weed moves. So
let's go. Didn't that feel good?
Yeah, we love the flavor.
Fire ass weed, and then like you just see it hit. Like, yeah, bro, we just had 128 people, or 65 motherfuckers just buy 2 of them bitches so fast, or 4 of them things, or like, let's go, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a pride thing. It's awesome. Yeah.
So okay, what's been? I got 2-part question. Favorite strain that you've ever grown within the brand, and what strain were you most hyped on, but it didn't make the cut?
Ooh. We just have run so many strains. It's difficult. Honestly.
What's been the bang? Oh, you could go back to what sold the fastest, if that helps it. What was the most poppin' strain that you've had, right? Who cares about?
Yeah, I mean, I think our blueberry muffin has had the best response of any flower that we've ever grown here. We also grow a banana bread.
You said banana breath or banana bread?
Bread, cookies strain. It smells like sweet rotten bananas.
Okay.
But we've always had a great response from the flavor, like true like fruity flavor. We've always had the best response to that. But obviously, people like runts, so we have a pink runts right now that flies. We've grown like a Boston Runts cross before. I mean, people like the runts.
I will generally smoke runts if given the ability to smoke runts and Kush and Gelato 41 probably would be my next go-to.
Yeah, I'll say one of my favorite smells and smokes from when we first started was a strain we had. It was called Sugarcane from what the heck? Can't even remember the guy's names now. They have the Platinum Punch, Slurricane, Sugarcane.
Yeah. Those are and that was
they're out west. The guys are out west. In-house genetics. Yeah, so like we had a Sugarcane and it didn't yield for crap, but gosh dang, the weed was great. And it was just didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't test that great, and it didn't hit good yield numbers in the room. So we kind of just had to throw our way, unfortunately.
Some of those. It sucks when you're a commercial brand and you only got so much space and you can't really have many misses, right? If any, depending on the size,
especially in the market that there is today,
right?
Because
Drew,
when we first started,
go ahead. Oh, go ahead. No, please.
No, when we first started in Michigan, you could sell a pound for $2,500, $3,000 all day, and it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter what you had because there wasn't enough supply to meet the demand. But now, there's so much supply. Everything you produce has to bang. It has to,
Yeah.
whether it's produce, your grams per square foot, or hit the test, or hit the flavor. It has to be above the rest.
When we've been out there three times in 2 years, and the flower out there at the dispensary was definitely one of, I'd say that, like, confidently, there were so many different things in the menu. It was like being in Oregon or Washington with just the quantity of products. And then from a quality standpoint, it was very much reminiscent of, I'd say it's right up there with Washington and Oregon in terms of quality, across the board, right? When it comes to, like, a variety of things, the vegan stuff being available, potency being up there, or terpenes being available, the actual smoke and flavors of different things. What was supposed to be high quality was really good. It was like, you take some of these Cali genetics and you move them to Michigan, and it's like, yeah, that y'all are doing it too. You know what I'm saying? It's a very cool to see that happen. I wanted to ask about terpene profiles, right? Terpenes are huge in the space. Bud tenders love to talk about it. It's huge in the flower realm. What are your thoughts on, you know, your favorite terp profile, that you like to see, across the strains that you grow? What do you feel, maybe what's the best terp that shines from your team, if there is one, maybe, or I don't know, some version of terps. What are your thoughts on terps from you guys? How are your terps looking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big lemon fan. Like anything like lemony, like that stuff
Okay.
it just makes me like we have a pheno right now going of platinum grape rounds, I want to say, but it
Hmm.
just smells like lemon. I'm not even sure how those crosses make a lemon, but it's like smells like a Sprite with a bunch of lemon juice on top of it. That's how lemony it is. I think
That's
that type of terpene profile, like I like that, the fruitier stuff. But like we have a Cake Boss Cake Boss pheno here, and like you touch the weed and you hive, like that's how strong it is, how potent it is, and it just smells like straight breath. And so like I love that strain too. You just walk in the room, you can smell it. It's just stinky breath. So
Mm,
just kind of like what you like, right?
yeah.
We had some strains that
I
were like super cheesy. Like you
mm,
harvest them, and then there's like, man, the bag smells like the cheesy popcorn you get from Christmas.
Ooh, that's crazy. Yeah, I love the fruity creaminess of the runs with that back-ended gas. Even right now, I think, what is this one? Yeah, here's a rainbow runs that I'm smoking literally right now. And I also like the spicinesses of the 41, right? I love the variations between different runs. I like the variations between various Skittles. You mentioned your Skittles Mimosa cross. That sounds phenomenal. For years, I was hooked on a watermelon mimosa out here, and I don't know, I haven't seen it here at the dispensaries in quite some time. So, to be able to smoke things like that, that's just crazy. When it comes to being there at your guys' grow, you mentioned some technology, you mentioned some specific, cultivation methods and things like that. You know, what's one of those pieces of technology, and the company or brand or whatever it is, and its role in your cultivation, right? What's one of those absolutely essential things that you've added over the last couple of years that you felt took you from level whatever to the next one?
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest and best change for us was adding GrowLink. There our irrigation control system that we use, and putting
Hmm.
sensors in our pots. So monitoring drybacks, really watching the plants, learning from the plants how they drink, when to feed them, when they're ready to be fed, when they're supposed to be fed. True crop steering. That really took our rooms from like okay yields and quality to maximizing the plant's ability to grow the way they're supposed to. And that to me has been the biggest difference maker in our success, being able to watch. Like it's so cool to be able to graph out how the plant's drinking throughout the day, throughout a week or a month, and say this worked, this didn't. Obviously there's other factors. There's lights, environmentals, um, and your type of feed. But really, monitoring drybacks, the biggest differentiating factor of success, in my opinion, for plant success.
Appreciate you sharing that game for all those cultivators out there who might be watching. Great opportunity to learn and tap in right there. Continuing in that realm, what would you say one mistake you made early on would be? Could we just maybe expand on that lesson? Maybe not focusing so much on the drybacks early on and the timing in the
Yeah.
fields and things like.
Yeah. So our system was very automated. So we just watered 3 times a day on a schedule, and there wasn't like a purpose. Like I like to say, like fact-based decision making. There was no rhyme or reason. We just thought we needed to water at that time just because. And some rooms would be great. Some rooms would turn out to be trash. And it's like, you really can't, every plant doesn't grow the same, right? You have slow drinkers, you have fast drinkers. You have your short stocking ones like Mac, for example. It takes a lot. You don't need a lot of water to feed her. And she just needs a little more babying early on. But when she's going, she's good. But when you're feeding the room all the same, you can't be specific and you can't help get those plants along during that phase in the early flower to where you can create that success later on in flower. So really, we were just kind of blind watering our plants early on, and also to couple that, a lot of people dealing with, you say I have botrytis or bud rot, and a lot of that is just your watering strategy, right? You're overwatering your plants, and moldy roots, moldy fruits. So I just think the like I said, quality has increased from being able to water precisely and not just because it's on some set schedule that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Man, giving some game right there, brother. I appreciate that. For those cultivators out there, that are trying to grow, more at scale and improve the quality of the fruits that they're ultimately trying to grow. Um, Figure out the schedules of each of these plants. Understand each of these genetics better, right? I mean, ultimately, they all have their own little recipe for success. You can definitely kind of stick them together and group them into your strategy if you'd like to, but it's really kind of figuring out the overlap and being able to really put individual love to each of these. I think that's huge.
For sure.
Drew, I really appreciate you being on the episode, man. It's been really great to talk to you. I've got a couple other questions for you. These ones are going to be a little bit more creative, so I hope you're ready.
All right, we'll see.
If you could have if you could focus on any of the Hall of Fame NFL players that just whoever's in that list that you can remember, that could potentially be a Freedom Green brand ambassador, who would be on that list? Hall of
Well, I had
Famers only.
Hall of Fame only. Well, I have to go with Reggie White. He was my dude.
I love
R.I.P.
that.
He was the guy I
Yeah.
wanted to be like, and talk about a leader, somebody, a guy that people wanted to follow, led by example,
Mhm.
led off the field. Like talk about a great brand ambassador. He's just a stud.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible individual on the field, off the field as well. Um, yeah. Rest in peace to Reggie White, man. If you could have one of your strains and one music album, and you were stranded on an island, what would they be?
Wow. Um,
What are you going to smoke a lot of, and what are you
um,
listening to?
well, I'm a Midwest guy, so I would probably go with Unleashed by Toby Keith. R.I.P. to
Okay.
him as well. Um, and then one strain, I'm gonna go back to the blueberry. That's my girl.
Back to the muffins. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Kalkaska, are you out there that way? Is that where you're based? Is that where the
Yep.
grow is?
Yeah, we're maybe a half a mile from Nate's spot.
Okay, fire. Yeah, I remember where his spot's at perfectly. Okay, so best place for us to go eat in Kalkaska. Who's the local person getting some love?
Well, we cater food a lot for our team here, and whenever we do, we
Okay,
we order from Trout Town.
Trout Town.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
Rumpel.
local
Okay,
restaurant
well,
that we
when we
go to.
visit, that's what we're eating at.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so do you guys ever rename strains? Is that a thing, or do you always keep them at based on the genetics and the cultivation, the cultivator, and all that kind of stuff?
It's kind of a combination because sometimes we get genetics from guys and they want exclusivity. So
Mm-hmm.
um, they'll say, hey, like I'm cool with sharing this with you, but I would appreciate it if it had a different name, which I respect. So sometimes it's we showcase the breeder, but then sometimes we kind of look at the flower and the crosses ourselves and
Yep,
create the name that best kind of fits.
I like that. I'm for that. So my question based on that answer is, if you were going to create some strains based on NFL plays, like Peyton Manning's Omaha, right? All these different like checks. What would be some of the the funny strain name play calls that you might rename them to?
Um, I think one would be funny. We call like hot route. From
Yeah,
the Wedding
wedding crashers.
Crashers. Yeah,
Yeah, hot route, hot route.
yeah, that would be a funny one.
I love that. I love it. That's a great idea. Okay, fire, fire, fire. Um, shout out that movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Okay, let's say Freedom Green gets a Super Bowl, right? $8 million just for the slot, not including production, right? Let's just say you got that handed to you. Shout out to the Fox Network for just showing you love yesterday, right? What would be the Freedom Green commercial?
Well, I think it would be, I think with cannabis, we need to invite more people to the industry, right? We need to make people feel like, because you have a combination of, and I don't mean this to sound, bad, but there's like a graffiti-esque music scene type cannabis, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of which invites, like that's like the culture, right? And then you have like a lot of other folks that are unsure, don't really know, but want to try, want to, whether it's for sleeping or pain relief. So like I would say trying to create some type of invitation into cannabis for the people that are on the edge trying to figure out, is this something for me? That's kind of
Yeah.
where I would go.
Setting them, yeah, I feel that. That would be a fun challenge right there for me as a marketer. Definitely the wheels are turning in about, how could we invite people to be a part of this from a not from an is it education, right? Is it statistics, right? Like the 22, right? And that information, right?
Yeah.
For veterans. I think we saw the Jesus stuff there run again yesterday. We saw some interesting the Tom Brady Snoop Dogg, the hate, right, the end hate
Yeah.
advertisements. It would definitely be interesting to see some form of uh, uh, educational or relatable information example there. Love that
Yeah, I
idea.
think the
Okay,
culture
so
is
we're gonna
great. Yeah, the
yeah.
culture's cool. Like I think it would be cool to have like a culture play, and then also like a play where it's like two sides of people coming together for the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like you got your
Yeah,
cannabis culture, you have the people that are on the edge, and it's like, hey, we're the same people. We want the same things. We just,
yeah.
I'm just unsure, and I'm trying to get these people to say, hey, this is an alternative to prescription medication, to alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. This is a safe way to consume and to help move you towards a healthier life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We were both talking before this. We were watching the halftime show yesterday. Were you smoking while you were watching the game?
Nah, my kids were awake during it, so I usually
I
try not
feel
to
you. I feel you.
consume around them.
No, I'm with you on that one. Totally understand. Well, in this case, I was over here taking some dabs while I was watching the halftime show. What were your thoughts on the Kendrick halftime show? What were your thoughts on either the performance or the production or overall? Any opinion on that?
I was kind of hoping for like more variety of his songs,
Same,
you know.
honestly.
Um,
We I, we
I
didn't
thought
get
that they could have
we
done a
didn't
better
get
job with
bitch
that.
don't kill my vibe, and we didn't get what was the other one that I'm forgetting right now. Anyways, that was the big one that I was hoping for.
And I like how in previous shows they add more musicians to it. Like I like collabs. I think it
Like
would
a
have been
band or
fun to do
something.
more, or just some type of was it last year when Eminem and 50 Cent, or or maybe a couple years ago, it was like Snoop, 50, Eminem, like all in one.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, they had a
That's
bunch.
cool when you have like, yeah. So I like that.
That's fire. That's fire. All right, I got my second to last question for you here. Do you this is about your retail partners who, I wanted to give you the opportunity to shout out, some of your 5 to 10 just retail partners that come to mind across the state. If I were to fly in, to Detroit, or if I were to mob out to Kalkaska, like who do you want to shout out that I should pull up on? You know what I'm saying? This is just for
Yeah.
the homies.
Yeah. We're pretty much in every corner of the state. So the first relationship we ever had was Loom, so we've been really
Bloom, let's
fortunate to
go.
be in Loom stores. But as of late, we've started to gain traction in KOB, the King of Buds guys. They've been great. Puff stores, we're getting some traction in Puff. Um, the Dudes, there's like 3 stores. I think that they're called the Dude Abides. Um,
Let's go.
it's pretty funny, yeah. So though they've been a great supporter as of late. Um, Planet
That's a
59,
healthy
Planet
spread right there, because
Provisioning.
Loom's
There's
got a ton of
Yeah, there's a good
location,
amount.
and some of these other ones I've seen. Because I went on Google Maps and went through Michigan when we flew out there in August, and just try to get a lay of the land, because we had to go up to Kalkaska. We went over to oh man, I'm blanking on the name of this other city right now. But we were down in New Buffalo. We went, Lansing. We hit a pretty solid portion of the state over there, and there's just a ton of dispensaries everywhere, man. It was real easy to get cannabis, and I love that about Michigan. And it was good. There's good flower all over. It was really affordable. Good rosin, good edibles. Drinks was a growing category. It was solid, man. I really appreciated, the creativity and the dedication to, really delivering good product. Obviously, there's a lot of interesting, bad things going on, as is, in other markets too for cannabis. But I thought overall, man, the product quality was pretty high. Um, Drew, before we get you out of here, I want to ask you, to anybody that hasn't tried your product yet, we want to talk to those people. So, what are your thoughts on your guy, helping those people understand your brand better, or those bud tenders that you haven't yet got to smoke it? What do you have to say to those people that can encourage them, or share some information with them?
Yeah, I think we really just want to provide that consistent experience, and too, that if you ever do want to reach out to us, we're here, and we're real people. I'm available. We take criticism as well as an attaboy at the same time, and so we're real people, real company. We're not, and there are good corporate companies, but we are not a corporate cannabis company. I'm the owner. I'm here every day. I'm the operator. And so, when you work with us, you're working with real people. I think that matters to the consumer.
I love that. You guys, please be sure to tap in, man. Drew, where can the people learn more about you? What's your guys' Instagram? What's your website?
Yeah. So we're at freedom_green_farms on Insta, and then just freedomgreenfarms.com. We're working on
Freedom Green.
upgrading our website. So
Nice.
yeah, we've just been trying to have
Beautiful.
more of a social presence, and just kind of pushing our brand more.
I love that, man. Well, I really appreciate you, connecting with me today and sharing your story. It's been a pleasure getting to hear, about your inspo, for the brand, and building it, and cultivating all these different strains, and the breeding, and working with the different homies there in Michigan. And it's just dope. I think it's cool, and it's inspiring. Oh, hopefully it inspires other athletes to get into the space as well, because ultimately we want more people, coming into the space doing cool stuff, right? And ultimately too, right? We want to grow more fire weed. I think at the end of the day, we
Yeah,
want
for
people
sure.
growing better weed, more craft operators across the board. Thank you again, Drew. I really appreciate it. Freedom Green Farms, you guys. Make sure you guys visit that. Just .com. Tap in. Would you say freedom_green_farms, right?
Yep.
For the Instagram. Tap in, folks. And then also, too, big shout out to our sponsor, Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, InfiniteCAL.com. If you guys want accurate testing, if you guys want somebody who's really championing for change at the legislative level in multiple states and multiple markets, helping to provide an honest, accurate system That's why we rock with him. So be sure to tap in, folks. InfiniteCAL.com. Drew, thank you again, man. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. Appreciate it.